Hi, Foods 2. I'm popping on here to review the Cooking for One assignment that you just did. I wanted to make sure we all understood how to half certain measurements in the kitchen. And then I wanted to clarify one of the tips that was talking about sharing your food with others and splitting groceries. I think some of you misunderstood. Some of you were thinking that just meant you're giving your food to others, but it also means they're sharing back. But we'll get into that in a little bit. So some of you got an NP, no pass, because I do want you to review this kitchen math. So watch this video, change your answers, correct your answers, and resubmit. Okay, so I'm going to try to go slow so that you can follow along. On your assignment, the first problem asks you to have 3 cups. So one of the ways we learn how to do that, let's write out the problem. So 3 cups cut in half, so it's divided by 2, equals what? One way to do that, we're going to pretend each one of these. Can you see everything? Okay. Each one of these is a cup. So 1 cup, 1 cup, 1 cup, right? These are our 3 cups. We're going to shade in half because we're halving, right? What are we left with? If we cut this in half, each one of these is a half cup, right? Now, if we count those, a half plus a half is 1. So these together is 1. And then this is a half. So the answer is 1.5 cups. All right. Okay, next. Next was 4.5 cups cut in half. So again, our dividing factor is 2 because we're cutting it in half. What does that equal? I'm going to hope we all know that 4 divided by 2 is 2. Okay? So we're just going to write 2 because for sure those 4 cups cut in half is 2 cups. I don't think I need to draw that out for you. What is a half a cup cut in half, though? How do we do that? Well, you can do the picture. So if this is 1 cup and we fill in half, we're dealing with this half cup here, right? But we need to cut that in half. So if you think about like a pizza, right? And if we cut it in quarters, now remember, we have a whole half of this shaded in, but now that half cut in half, that's how it would be. Each one is a quarter, and now this is a half. We're going to shade 1 in because we want a half cut in half, and we're left with a quarter. So a half cup divided by 2 is a quarter cup, which means 4.5 cups divided by 2 is 2.25 cups. All right, next one is 1.5 cups cut in half. So 1.5 cups divided by 2, because we're halving, we have to divide it by 2, equals what? Well, if we draw our circles again, so we're starting with 1.5 cups, right? So I'm going to shade that in. Actually, I'm just going to erase it. We're just starting with that, right? So this is 1 cup. This is a half cup. This is what we're starting with. We're going to shade in half of the 1 cup, and we're left with a half cup. And we're going to shade in half of the half cup. We're left with that quarter cup. Because remember, if we were to extend this and think of it as a pizza, cutting it into quarters, this is a quarter, right? So I like some of you actually wrote a half cup plus a quarter cup, which is fine because if you don't usually have a 3/4 cup in the kitchen. But a half cup plus a quarter cup is 3/4 of a cup. So you could take a quarter cup measuring cup. Let's say it's 3/4 cup of flour. You could measure out 3 of those, 3 of the 1/4 cups. But you could also measure out a half a cup plus a quarter cup of flour. If you're having, let's say, a cookie recipe that calls for 1.5 cups of flour. So there's that one. All right. Again, this was number 3 on there. Next one is a 1/4 cup cut in half. Or wait. Was it a 1/4 cup? Oh, yeah. A 1/4 cup cut in half. This is the one a lot of you are having trouble with. So a 1/4 cup cut in half equals. Many of you here write 1/8 of a cup, right? 4 divided by 2. However, only sometimes, and in my kitchen at school, I think there's maybe two 1/8 cups in the whole kitchen. So you're not always going to have a 1/8 cup. That actually isn't in a standard set of measuring cups. So you have to figure out how else you could measure out 1/8 of a cup in the kitchen. How can we do that? Well, we've talked about how a 1/4 cup equals 4 tablespoons. I'm going to switch markers here because this one is running out of juice. We've talked about how a 1/4 cup equals 4 tablespoons. That was one of those things that if you memorize that 1 cup equals 16 tablespoons, you'll be able to figure out a 1/4 cup is 4 tablespoons. Why don't we go ahead and review that right now, actually. I was going to wait to review that till the last one, which is 3/4 cup cut in half. But let's just do it right now so you have that visual in your head. All right. So 1 cup equals 16 tablespoons. Remember I've told you this, I need the visualization of that. So I'm going to draw out 4 rows of 4 and 4 columns of 4 to get 16 tablespoons. So every single one of these is a tablespoon. Okay, so this all equals 1 cup. All right, so keep that in mind. Now our problem asks for a 1/4 cup cut in half. So each one of these lines is a 1/4 cup. So this one's a 1/4 cup. This one's a 1/4 cup. This one's a 1/4 cup. And this one's a 1/4 cup. So if we scope in on just one of these lines and we shade in half of them, there's 4 tablespoons there. I'm going to shade in or just cross off 2 of them. What am I left with? I'm left with 2 tablespoons. Oops. 2 tablespoons. So that would be your answer. You could write 1/8 of a cup. Maybe you're lucky enough to have a 1/8 cup in your kitchen. But if you don't, you would want to measure out 2 tablespoons. If your recipe maybe calls for a 1/4 cup of brown sugar, for example, usually cookies call for brown sugar or white sugar, and it's usually about that much. So that's how you cut that in half, okay? All right. Next one is 1 cup cut in half. I'm going to just erase some of this so I can use it later. And I just realized, I hope I held that up for long enough, that a 1/4 cup, I'm just going to write that again, a 1/4 cup divided by 2 was 2 tablespoons. So that was the answer for a 1/4 cup cut in half, 2 tablespoons. All right, just want to make sure I'm covering it and going slowly enough. The next one is 1 cup cut in half, and that's where, again, we can draw 1 cup, draw a line down the center, fill it in, we're left with a 1/2 cup. So 1 cup divided by 2 equals a 1/2 cup. So that's the answer for 1 cup cut in half. All right. Then a 1/2 cup cut in half is the next one. So we could just take it from here. A 1/2 cup cut in half, so divided by 2 equals what? So remember, if this is like a pizza pie, right? And we cut it in, oh gosh, I should not try to write upside down. We cut it in 4s. We started with half of the pizza, Now we cut that in half. We're left with 1/4 and 1/4. So we need to fill that one in, and we're left with 1/4 cup. So that's the next answer. 1/2 cup cut in half would be 1/4 cup. Now, the fun one. We've worked on this one in class, and it's been a while, so do not feel bad if you forgot how to do this, all right? Let me just fix my picture here and take these out. Just get rid of this stuff. So we're back to, now we want to do 3/4 of a cup cut in half. I saw all kinds of answers, including like 3/8 of a cup. Again, if you have 1/8 of a cup and you can do it 3 times, that might work. But to be honest, I don't even know if that's a correct answer. Somebody did fractions down to the 3/8. Anyway, I want to show you how to do it this way. So 3/4 of a cup cut in half. If we go back to our big picture where 1 cup equals 16 tablespoons. And remember, each of these lines is 1/4 cup. So we only want 3/4 of a cup. So let's just cross off one of these. Let's see if this big red marker works. Nope. Let's just cross one of these off so that now, right here, we have 3/4 of a cup. So we're starting with our 3/4 of a cup. Okay, how do I cut that in half? Well, if I count these, I have 12 tablespoons. So 3/4 of a cup is equal to 12 tablespoons. So that's equal. That's not cut in half. That's what it's equal to. Now I need to cut that in half. I need to cut my 12 tablespoons in half. 12 divided by 2, I hope we all know, is 6. So your answer for 3/4 cut in half could be 6 tablespoons. How would I do that on here? I would just shade in 6 of them, or cross off 6 of them. And we can see I'm left with 6 tablespoons. Now that I've crossed those off, though, you can also see a different way that I can do that. This whole row is left, so that's 1/4 cup, and 2 tablespoons are also left over. So you could have also written 1/4 cup plus 2 tablespoons. So either one of those answers is fine. The only thing you might not want to do if you have to, let's say you're having sugar. Let's say a recipe calls for 3/4 cup of sugar. That's a lot of sugar. Maybe that's in lemonade or something. If you have to then half that and do 6 tablespoons, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, that might be annoying to you, maybe not. But if it is, then you could just measure out that 1/4 of a cup and then 2 tablespoons. Okay, then moving on to the rest of the assignment, I just wanted to review everybody I've seen summarizing the making a meal plan. The first tip, good job. Just it helps you plan better, know what to eat. You don't impulse buy. You're going to eat healthier. Stuff like that. A lot of you did great brainstorming for why would you want to cook for one, like allergies. I saw actually somebody said if you want to deliver somebody a meal. I thought that was really sweet. You're eating at a different time than the rest of your family. Lots of different answers there that you guys all did a really good job. Shopping in the bulk bins and deli counter. Some of you, I think, misunderstood that. So bulk bins at a grocery store are just big bins. Let's say there's a big bin of oatmeal and you just like take this lever and open it and you put whatever amount you want in a bag, for example, and then that's all you take. You don't have to buy a whole tub of oats because let's say you only need it for a week. Then you can just get a small bag of it. So bulk bins help you get a smaller quantity or just the amount you need Also, it's sometimes less expensive to buy in bulk. Then the deli counter, you can go get 2 slices of ham, for example, instead of buying a whole package. Let's say you only want 1 ham sandwich this week with 2 slices of ham on it. You don't want a whole thing of ham in your fridge and then 2 weeks later you find it and it's gone bad. So that was that one. The third tip, not overbuying produce because produce goes bad, right? I can't tell you how many times I have let strawberries go bad when I was living on my own. They looked so good in the store. I got them home, ate a couple, forgot about them. Then I found them with mold on them. So produce is fresh fruits and vegetables. So don't overbuy those if you're cooking for one or living on your own. Filling up that freezer, you guys all understood that part. Just freezing leftovers, freezing prepackaged, having those prepackaged foods. Maybe you like Hot Pockets. Reinventing leftovers. A couple people didn't understand that, so I just wanted to review. For example, you're going to get sick of having baked chicken by itself for 3 nights in a row. So you may the next day take your leftover chicken breast and make it into enchiladas or quesadillas. So that's what it means by reinventing leftovers. Tip 7 was the toaster oven. And I actually have a toaster oven. I'm going to show you. A toaster oven is just a mini oven, and excuse any messes in my house right now. Oh, funny. I have produce on the counter. So I actually just washed this produce. I bought fresh grapes and fresh strawberries. Just a little side tip. If you put your berries, grapes in some water and put about a tablespoon or 2 of vinegar in that water with it, it helps just take any bacteria off. And I did that already with these, and now I'm just letting them dry on the counter. And I put a little bit of paper towel underneath them. Okay, so let's see if I can get the toaster oven in view. I don't know why there's a Lego here. You know, I have a 6-year-old, so here's our toaster oven. It's old, it's dirty, so just don't mind that. But what's nice is there's settings down. Let me see if I can make sure I'm getting this in. Aha. Okay, see all those buttons down there? You can bake. You do bake, temperature, put the temperature up to what you want it. So let's say I want to bake something. I'm baking just a couple cookies. That's what she talks about. And they need to be at 350. Look at this. I can take this little pan. I know this is super dirty. It's just stained, okay? So don't be grossed out. But I can take this little cookie sheet here, and I can just put 3 blobs of cookie dough on there and just cook 3 cookies if I don't want to cook all of them. Because sometimes if you don't gobble up a whole dozen of cookies right away, which I probably would, but if you don't gobble up a whole dozen of cookies right away, sometimes they go bad. They get stale. Depending on your house, they either get really brittle or they might get really overly soft, and then they're just not, you don't love them anymore. Okay, what was the next one? Okay, yes, this is a 1-10s. Quite a few of you thought this meant you were buying food for your friends. This is reciprocation that I'm talking about here. So you could go to the store, let's say you have roommates, and you pretty much, this is like if you eat the similar items, let's say yogurts, bread, sandwich stuff, chips. You can buy all that, go to the checkout line, and each of you pay for half of it. Whether you can tell the cashier that you want to pay for it in 2 different ways. So you could swipe your card and then your friend or roommate could swipe their card. Sometimes I've had it where I pay with my card and then my friend or roommate would pay me in cash for half of them. That's an idea. That's what it meant by splitting groceries. The other one, this is the one where I think you guys were getting confused. Sharing your food. So let's say my friend makes lasagna and he's super good at making lasagna, but he ends up with a huge pan of lasagna. Then I make tater tot casserole and I have a huge pan of tater tot casserole. And then let's say another friend makes spaghetti and meatballs. And they end up with a big pot of spaghetti and a big thing of meatballs and sauce. they might not want to eat. My friend doesn't want to eat lasagna for 5 days. I hope. Maybe he does. I don't know. But I wouldn't want to eat lasagna for 5 days in a row. So what you can do, maybe on day 2 after you make it, swap. So I might cut like my lasagna in thirds in the pan, and I'll give a third of it to this friend and a third of it to this friend. The other person might take their tater tot casserole, cut it in thirds. They keep that third. I forgot to say that with lasagna. You keep a third, give away a third to that one friend, give away a third to that one friend. And then the same thing with the spaghetti and meatballs, just divvying up into thirds. Now, in my fridge, I have some lasagna, some tater tot casserole, and some of the spaghetti and meatballs. So I'm not eating the same thing for 5 days, 6 days in a row. That's what that was referring to. And if you go back to that other tip of hers, I could actually take some of that stuff. Maybe I want to take the layagna, portion it out into single servings, put it in a, microwave, not microwave, but freezer safe container. Put that in your freezer so that you can have it like maybe the next week for lunch. You throw it in your lunch. Okay, we're at 21 minutes of me rambling on and telling you about your assignment. Okay, so, and then scaling down that answer, that's from tip 8. That means you have to learn culinary math and substitutions. So like just the other day, a recipe called for buttermilk. I made pigs in the blanket homemade, and I did a buttermilk crust or dough to wrap around it. It called for buttermilk. We don't have buttermilk. I'm not about to run out and get buttermilk. And so I learned along the way that 1 tablespoon of lemon juice per 1 cup of milk actually makes 1 cup of buttermilk. So you can learn things like that. You can always look up substitutions online. And that is my tip about that. And then, it was really fun, you guys, reading your single serve to go recipes that you like. Some of you, I had a lot in common with some of you on those. Lots of ice cream. Love ice cream. Lots of popcorn. We love popcorn at our house too. Let's see, what else did I see that I wanted to mention? Eggs for breakfast. I love that too. Now I'm losing my memory. Somebody wrote something. Oh, I can't remember now. But lots of interesting food that I saw there. Oh yeah, I saw a vegetarian meatloaf. Yeah, and I can't remember the other one now. Okay, anyway. So that is it. This was a long video, but it's shorter than an 87-minute class period. So hopefully this helped you. And if you got an NP for your grade for this assignment, that means you need to go through your assignment again, make corrections, or even if I made comments and you just write okay next to it and resubmit it, I'll know that you looked at it. I really want to know that you guys understood these concepts before I put a P for passing on there. If this stresses you out in any way, if you're struggling still, please email me, or if you could come to my Zoom office hours. They're on Tuesdays and Thursdays from 10 to noon. I posted it right in the assignment on Google Classroom. If you need to email me, I can send you the link. I'm happy to do that. And I think that's all I need to tell you. All right. Have a great day, and I hope to see you guys on a Zoom meeting. I know I won't see you now for the rest of the school year, and then some of you I won't see till next year, and some of you I won't see again unless you come visit me after you graduate. So everybody take care. Hope you're staying healthy. Miss ya.